Hey, community, welcome back to a series that we're doing with University of Michigan students in the club, the Power Hour, and they're all entrepreneurs, and we're having some great talks with the change makers of tomorrow. Today, we're talking to Noah Cox and Noah Jacobs, co-founders of Noah's Ark Capital Management. They're a hedge fund that launched from their dorm room, co-founders of Ultima Insights, which uses AI investment research platform using, you've heard me talk about this, GPT and SEC filings to help investors connect the dots in their portfolio. So guys, I love talking about everything that you guys do. But I want to start by just kind of looking out 5 years, right? We'll get to your businesses, but you know, ChatGPT launched November 30th, and there had been companies like Jasper that were, you know, around prior to that. I don't think people really knew about it. Well, mainstream companies did. And 1 million users in 5 days. I mean, it took the world by storm.
Yeah.
And now AI, we can all see, wow, there's 1 billion and 1 uses for AI. And so, give or take. So fast forward 5 years, what are businesses going to look like 5 years from today with AI?
I think it's going to be game changing. I mean, you know, you talked about 1 million users in the first 5 days. I want to say ChatGPT is up to 100 million. Microsoft obviously invested $10 billion into this company. So it's more than the future of students at U of M using it to get answers on their test or write an essay. It is the future of work, I think. I think it's going to disrupt a lot of industries that people didn't realize before because of even the level of creativity the artificial intelligence has in generating responses. So places like marketing, consulting, I think a lot of those places will get disrupted, but inevitably, I think the evolution of it's going to be even more fascinating.
Yeah.
For us, we're kind of looking at finance too. I mean, hence that's why we're here, and how it will, to some extent, disrupt some of the research done and certainly augment everyone's ability to do that research. Yeah. And I guess that's kind of how I look at it, as the tool to augment what you're currently doing and really amplify your existing power.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of look at it as almost like it's like another business partner in a way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It really is. All right. So let's go back. So you're in your dorm room. That's very Mark Zuckerberg, right? So you're in your dorm room. Did you guys know each other prior to living with each other?
No. We actually met at orientation.
So you met at orientation, you decide to live together, and in your dorm room, you spark an idea.
We founded it before we lived together. This was freshman year when we were all in different dorms, and it was in Cousins, actually.
Okay.
Noah came over to my dorm in Cousins, and we talked about it, and yeah.
And that's it. All right. So let's go from initial conversation to launch, right? So talk about that, because everybody talks a lot about ideas, but sometimes people don't put them into action.
Sure.
And so especially when you're a freshman in college, a sophomore in college, and you've got school, a social life, you know, and sometimes it just makes it a little bit harder. So how did you zoom in, focus, and build?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to your point, right, like execution is 99%, ideas are 1%.
Yeah.
Thomas Edison quote. But I mean, for Noah and I, we were both very passionate about the market, and you know, this was Noah Jacobs' idea to start with, right? I'm not going to take any credit for it. So it was really good timing, because you know, when the market crashed right after, it's just amazing to watch and see all these big movements. So we launched a test fund in August of 2020, just really our own money, just to try to figure out how the strategy that we were trying to, you know, optimize would perform. Ran that test fund for a little bit, ran an official incubator fund in the fall of 2021 for the purpose of building a track record that we could then pass off to an accounting firm, give to them. They could, you know, computate our results, and then we could use that when passing it off to investors. And last year in April, we launched the real thing. So.
Okay, good. And so you launched it. Okay, and then what happened? Tell us kind of where are we today?
Yeah, it's a company that definitely, like, you know, is really interesting to launch in terms of timing. COVID was interesting on the down and then going up, and post-COVID last year, I mean, probably, I mean, I guess I'm biased, one of the worst markets to launch a hedge fund. But
certainly not a fun one too.
Yeah.
Tell everybody who doesn't know what a hedge fund is, what a hedge fund is.
Oh, sure. So a hedge fund is essentially a pooled investment vehicle. So maybe all three of us put our money together, or three of us give one of us the money, and then that individual manages it collectively. And it's distinct from financial advice because you're not looking at each client's individual financial needs. You're looking at the needs of the fund, and you're optimizing for performance based on a strategy that the fund employs. And yeah, again, it was a pretty.
Well, wait, hold on. I have a question. So now so there's the foundation of it. Now layer on onto that. So people I want people to make sure they understand. Then you layer on AI research using GPT and SEC filings to kind of help you, which I think is also a difficult thing, help people make decisions, right? Everybody's looking at indicators and assumption sets, but figuring out how to make a decision. You're using AI and looking at SEC filings, I'm assuming, to forecast and look at trends and things of that nature. So just kind of chat about that for a second.
Yeah, to some extent, it's a bandwidth problem, John, in the sense that there's so much information out there that can impact any stock that you own. And it's very difficult to get a hold of all of it and process it. So we're using the AI and the artificial intelligence to just process as much of that as possible for us and bring us the signal. It's really a question of separating signal out from noise. Especially with the internet, it's really information overload. You can go online right now and there's a million data points for anything you want to learn about, but actually sifting through that and finding something that's highly correlated with a company's health, something that will actually impact the company's health, is really hard to do. And we're using AI to help us with that process.
Yeah. But let's extract that data and look at the Sam Walton story for a minute. He would go to the boardroom, people would give him data and say, this is what we need to do. He would then go to the coffee shop, have coffee and pie with his consumer, and go back to the boardroom and say, this is what's important to my people. I say that because how do you then take, and I'm a big fan of data, right? If you don't bring data to the meeting, people just use their own opinions, and people's own opinions can get in trouble. But there's also data and guts. So that's what I want to know. How do you determine and extract, right, in your world, because you are using AI. AI is very good. It's not 100% yet, right? How do you extract and put your gut and instincts into it? For either one of you.
Yeah. And I think one of the big things, like you just said, was like taking data and actually connecting it and determining if it's relevant is like biggest part. I'm sure you know this story too with Amazon Prime. Every single stat that Jeff Bezos was given said, don't do Amazon Prime. The research isn't there. The market doesn't support it. And he took his instinct, which is really not necessarily a sustainable path. But to your point, sometimes the coffee shop discussions matter more.
Correct.
For us, one of the things that I
just want to share one thing. When I started an internet company with my brother and a buddy, we were, how old are you guys?
21 for me.
All right. So we were 23 and we sold it when we were 25. We hired, a high ticket attorney to come to dinner with us and the company that wanted to buy us. And they said, if you sell your company, it'll be the biggest mistake you ever make. And we sold it. And it was the best decision we ever made because we had our finger ahead of real time on the pulse of what was happening. It wasn't just a black and white decision. We could see the gray.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to your point, right, like it's about connecting the dots. So the artificial intelligence we use, it not only learns about the company, learns what types of risk factors are relevant. So we have a white paper out of a university that buckets risks into 25 different categories for any publicly traded company, identifies the buckets of risks relevant to the company you're researching, research it for you, uses an ML model trained on, I think it's over like 1,300 news articles to learn what's good news, what's bad news, what's news that's completely noise, scores it for you, delivers the news to you. And then the last part, which we think is really interesting, GPT provides us a 3-sentence blurb telling us why that risk bucket is important to your company.
Yeah.
Not only do you know the quality of the article, you know why that risk is important. So to your point, connecting the dots with the data is what allows us, we really think, to potentially have an edge.
Yeah. Let's talk about AI for a second, because what I'm finding about AI, it's not about just using AI, it's the questions and how you ask it to AI, right? And so talk a little bit about the questions and how to really utilize it, right? I mean, you can put in, 10 ways to fall asleep faster, or you can say, as an expert, as a consultant, how would you, there's different ways to ask it. Can you guys talk about that and how you're using it?
Yeah. So you really Our technical guys will be able to answer this a little bit better, but essentially what we're doing is asking multiple questions over and over, right? So you have a list of questions. You say, here, ask it this way, ask it this way, ask it this way, and then synthesize all the information together. And then from there, there's a whole other part of the prompt where it is a language model. So it's speaking in English and it's forming sentences. But when we have to take it out and actually go back to the internet to search, there's a whole other element of finding the search queries within those prompts. So now you have a paragraph of information. You can't just copy and paste that into Google News. Nothing's going to come up or you'll get a bunch of noise. So part of it is not only asking the AI the question, but then converting that back into what's useful from a search perspective, because that's not usually going to be actual structured sentences.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You guys are doing really, really cool things. Quick speed round for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. If you were to teach a college class, right, you're seniors at the Ross School of Business, both of you, if you were to teach a class at the Ross School of Business, what would it be?
Ooh, good one. I'd actually not teach it at Ross. I teach a philosophy class. I think connecting the dots from a qualitative perspective is so much more valuable. Ross has given us some good value. Don't get me wrong, but I've taken a few philosophy classes here, and those have been the ones that have really blown my mind.
Who's your favorite? Know what I would teach. Who's your favorite philosopher?
I really like. That's tough. Favorite one. David Hume is really interesting. Just talking about like he gives. I think maybe it's an example that's been contextualized to the modern age, but the billiard balls on like a pool table, and how if you hit a pool ball and it bounces off another pool ball, how can you be certain of the causality there? And so really questioning causality is really cool for us, tying it into Ultima Insights and the artificial intelligence, because you can look at something and assume it's causal. It's most likely correlated. So when you cut that out, you're really simplified to just a few levers that really move and affect your business decisions.
All right, good. All right, let me know when you're teaching your class. Maybe I'll sit in a couple. Jacobs, how about you?
Yeah, I don't know. It would have to certainly be something with experiential learning, though, because at least for me, I've found, and maybe this is counterintuitive to what school is, but I found I've learned most by actually doing things, whether it's actually like I do a lot of jiu-jitsu. So actually grappling with people is the best way to learn how to grapple with people. You can do theory all day, but until you actually put it into practice, which is what Noah and I have been doing for the last 2 or 3 years now, I think that's at least for me where I learn most. And I would imagine other people learn that way as well too.
Yeah, good. Extract one lesson that you've learned through this entrepreneurial journey.
Ask a lot of questions and ask a lot of hard questions. Because I mean, assumptions are everywhere and you don't even know it. And I'm really bad at making a ton of bad assumptions. So
all it takes is one bad assumption. There's really no bad decisions. There's only bad assumptions. And when you look at companies like Borders, they made one bad assumption. People wouldn't buy books on the internet. You can look at a lot of different companies that are all do the same. So as a business coach, I always talk to clients about ask a lot of questions, because the person that asks the questions controls the conversation.
Okay.
Jim, how about you?
Yeah, so I would go right off of that and say, not only ask the questions, but be willing to change based off that information you're receiving. Because that's the whole point of asking questions, is you should be able to change on a dime. And I know Noah and I have hopefully gotten better at that over the couple of years or so, of really being able to take new information and say, okay, old assumptions were clearly wrong. How have we been acting on them, and how can we act on new assumptions? Or how can we reverse what we've done in that sense?
Good. I love it.
Yeah.
Tell everybody who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So ideal clients are going to be hedge fund sides of private offerings, so accredited investors. The tech business is really where we're trying to build this customer base right now. And so it's focused on registered investment advisors who run a small shop, don't have access to Bloomberg terminals or other major resource tools right now because of the scale they have. Small private funds, hedge funds of a similar scale size, family offices, and equity research analysts. People that love to look into stocks, get into the weeds, look at the details, but maybe are a little overwhelmed to look at the dots right now and connect them. You find us on LinkedIn. I think it's probably the best place. Or check out our newsletter. I know, John, we sent you the information before the podcast, but good spots to learn what we're up to, subscribe, stay in the loop, and reach out if you're interested in chatting.
Good. Guys, as a business coach, I work with people who are successful and stuck, and I get them unstuck. And I work with solopreneurs to Fortune companies and everything in between. And what I love about this podcast is I get to have guests on the show that can get people unstuck. And Think Community, we are talking to the change makers of today and the change makers of tomorrow. And I love this series because I'm learning so much with everybody that I'm talking to. And it's really important to know how you and your generation think and move and hear things and look at things and evolve things. And so I wish you guys, congratulations on everything. I'm looking forward to watching your career through the decades. It's going to be great. And Think Community, it's really, really important that, we pay attention to AI. If there's, I'm going to extract one thing. You should be, at minimum, if you don't know AI, if you're not familiar with AI, you should be spending 1 to 5 minutes every day studying it, using it, and understanding how it will affect your business in the days, weeks, and months to come. Guys, I appreciate it. All your contact information will be on my website. And if anybody wants to get a hold of me, I'm at jondwoskin.com. Any last words, fellas?
Thanks for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you guys too. Thanks so much.